Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. For those of you that it's afternoon, here in Florida it is, and we're here for another Midlife Mojo Mondays. I'm Jill Lebofsky, the owner of Midlife Mojo, and every Monday I come here at the 2 p.m. ish hour. So today's one of those ish days to bring you some kind of education, a demonstration, maybe a special guest, maybe just some thoughts, musings of my own head. That's something that I just think can maybe help benefit you, whether it's in your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, your sexual, your well being, wherever it may be, where you can thrive and find your midlife mojo. And every week in the Midlife Mojo group, I have a loose theme. And this week's theme was about all about the heart. All right. I think, what did I care? I think it's called Exercise is Good for Your Heart. That's what I think we titled it. And so we are throughout the week, you're going to see a lot of posts about exercise and how that can be beneficial and some other things also to do with heart health. But I was really wanted to talk a little bit about heart health today. And I wanted to specifically talk about heart attacks and the signs that women over 40 should be looking for, because they're a lot different than, not a lot, but they differ from men. And oftentimes women go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed because of this. Oh, hey, Aurora, thanks for joining me. Ooh, I hope you're warm enough there in Texas. But so as this women over 40, really women over 50, the number one killer is for most women for is, excuse me, heart attacks or heart disease. I should say heart disease, not heart attacks. And so I thought that this would be a really important topic today because we're going to be talking about exercise during the week, right? I'm going to be encouraging you to go out there and get started. And for some of you, maybe you've never exercised before. Maybe for some of you, it's been a long while. Hey there, Marva. So, maybe some of you, you've been doing it, you're in great shape, and you don't even, know that maybe there's some underlying causes going on. Hey there, Becky. Oh, look at all my ladies joining me. Thank you so much. So, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to really talk about the signs and prevention for heart attacks specifically. But first, I'm going to get into a little statistics and some other things, and then just some general wellness, things that you can do to help your heart. But really, I want you guys to be listening for these signs for a heart attack, because I did a lot of, heart disease runs in my family. My dad at age 50 had a quintuple bypass, and my dad was the owner of a Nautilus fitness center. I don't know if you guys know Nautilus, but basically he owned a gym. He ate well, he exercised, and at age 50, he had, a heart attack and 5 stents put in. 10 years later, had more heart trouble. Right now, we're back in there. He's got a pacemaker, and we just put in a defibrillator, and I just met with a surgeon, and we're going back to do something else. And so sometimes it's genetics that are going on. So you really want to, learn this as a woman over 40, what the signs are. So despite, that of course there is this increased awareness, right? There's that whole like red movement, right? The heart health red movement we see for the, only about half of the women even recognize that the number one killer is the heart disease. It's responsible in the United States for 1 in every 5 female deaths. And it's the number one killer, the heart disease for for white and African Americans. And it's just behind cancer for Asian Americans and Hispanic women. So, I mean, number 1, number 2, we're right up there, right? All of us fall in those categories, or most of us fall in those categories. And so heart disease, the risk factors, and this was really interesting when I was going over the risk factors, because I mean, I know what the general risk factors are for heart disease, having studied all this stuff for so long. But to see that actually women were more at risk for some of these things. So let me tell you about them. So diabetes, right? That's a common thing that a lot of people have as a precursor to heart disease. And women with diabetes are more likely to develop heart disease than men with diabetes. Very interesting, right? And also because diabetes can change the way that you experience pain, you're at greater risk for having a silent heart attack. So not even having any symptoms or recognizing that. Kind of surprising, right? The number 2, a risk factor for heart disease is mental stress and depression. Stress and depression affect women's hearts more than they affect men's hearts. Depression makes it difficult to treat with a healthy lifestyle too, right? And follow the recommended treatments. When you're not mentally feeling well, it's hard to want to get up off the couch or make yourself something healthy or get out there and work out, So mental stress and depression can lead to heart disease. Smoking, right? We've all heard of that. And smoking is a greater factor for women than it is for men. So for those of you who are out there, I know most of my women in my groups aren't smokers, but if you still are, or women in your life who are, and especially those women who are over 50 or over 40, really, even over 40, I feel, smoking is a greater risk than even men for heart disease. And then lack of physical activity, right? So it kind of goes along with that stress and depression. You're not going to want to move as much. Well, if you're not moving much, right, they found that women are less active than men. I don't really know why that would be, but I guess, for some women, maybe, and I'm just really generalizing, but, men maybe still are out there, working, where a lot of women maybe were at home for a lot of years. Now their kids are off and they're trying to figure out what they're doing. And so they're just home and they're not moving as much. But let's just face it, here in the time of COVID, none of us are getting as much activity in as we should be. So for women, that's even more of a risk. Menopause, that's going to be a risk for heart disease. So just being women going through menopause puts us at a greater risk. Low levels of estrogen pose a significant risk of developing disease in smaller blood vessels. So just that in itself, right? So these are all things that we're keeping, right? We talk about all these things in so many other ways, right? I talk about it in terms of eating well and fasting and our oils and all these things, right, kind of come into play. But here's specifically how they relate to heart disease. So, as I mentioned earlier, a family history of early heart disease. This appears to be a greater risk factor in women than men, right? So in my family, the women in my family have all had breast cancer, right? My great grandmother, my great aunt, my grandmother, my aunt, my mother, my sister. That was what my destiny was, I assumed. And then I had a genetic testing, and and I do not have the gene, and so I go into the regular pool like everybody else. But the truth is, I take after my dad's side of the family. My sister, who had breast cancer, looks just like my mom's side. I look just like my Nana, my dad's side, who died young of heart disease. My dad with a heart disease. My grandfather, my dad's dad with a heart disease. So greater reason why I try to do things that I know. I try to eat heart healthy, right? Fasting, doing the exercise, the cardio that I need to do, taking the right supplements like the omega Jis that are, and things like that. All of those things are so important, especially for me, because of my family history. So if you've got a family history, you need to step things up just a little bit more, because you are even at greater risk than the men in your family who have, so let's say than your brother or something like that. Inflammatory disease is a heart disease risk factor. So things like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and other things can increase heart disease in both women and men. So if you already have some kind of autoimmune or inflammatory disease, that's going to put you at risk for heart attacks as well. So just curious, since I got you guys listening, do any of you guys have a strong family history of heart disease at all? Or are any of you guys doing anything specific to take care of your heart? Marva, I know you do some good things to take care of your heart. Aurora, Becky, I know you guys do as well, right? So what are some things that maybe that you're doing to take care of there? And especially if you do, let me know. Do you have any kind of family history, even if you're listening on the replay? Or what about any of those other predisposers? Diabetes, mental stress, smoking, inactivity, menopause, right? If you're in this group, you probably fall in that category. Inflammatory disease. So sometimes heart disease may be silent and not diagnosed until you have other symptoms or other things that happen. So you might not even be diagnosed until you have a heart attack, like you're actually presenting with a heart attack, or that you have arrhythmia, which is like a fluttering feeling in your chest. Or sometimes it's full-on heart failure before you even know. Your dad died of a massive heart attack at age 37. Yeah, that's a risk factor that is there, right? So you have to do, and I know you do what's necessary to keep yourself as well as possible. But we have to be aware of that, especially for women, the silent heart attack, the silent heart disease is looming out there. And so we have to be our own advocates. There isn't a lot of the research is done on men. A lot of the signs, symptoms, things that you see out there, are based on men. And there's just starting to come this new look at women and how we present differently. So some heart attack symptoms for women specifically, just like men, as they say, some type of chest pain, right? Or pressure or discomfort that lasts, longer than a few minutes, or it comes and goes. That is the main one. But chest pain is not really, for a lot of women, severe enough that they even think that it's an issue. It's sometimes not even like the most noticeable thing that they feel. Sometimes they may just feel like maybe it's like a little pressure or a tightness, but not like when people think of like chest pain, right? That's not what they're thinking of. I know a lot of times I work out, right? So I have like a tightness in my chest. So I could see myself just attributing it to a tough workout, because if it wasn't this sharp shooting pain that you see, right? With all those like red arrows pointing that you see in like the literature and the pictures of it. It is very possible to have a heart attack and never have any chest pain, right? So we need to look for what are some of the other things we want to be aware of. I just want to read here. I see Becky, you wrote here. Yeah, your dad's side, too hard. Yeah, so just like that. Yep, exercising, watching what you eat. I mean, that's what we can do, right? We cannot change our genetics, but we can fight our genetics. That's what I always say, right? We can fight it. We can do our best. We can take all the precautions. So, and God forbid something still should happen. Hopefully it's not as bad as if it would have happened had we not done anything, right? So, kudos to you guys for knowing where you come from and knowing what you've got to do to live long, healthy, happy, vibrant lives, and not end up, unfortunately, like sometimes our parents did. So some symptoms unrelated to chest pain, and I will put these later in the comments just so we have it down. I may actually make a little graphic for it. I think I'll do that. But it's neck, jaw, shoulder, upper back, or abdominal discomfort. So any pain in your neck, your jaw, your shoulder, your upper back, or any abdominal discomfort. That could be signs that you're having a heart attack. Shortness of breath, pain in one or both arms, nausea or vomiting, sweating, lightheadedness or dizziness, unusual fatigue, or indigestion, right? Now, these symptoms may be vague and may not, so even these symptoms, right, when you start to look at them, right, this might be because, first of all, look at those symptoms right there, all right? So let's just take sweating. Right? We're sweating already, us hot flashing ladies, right? During the day. So we may just assume it's just another hot sweat or another night sweat. Indigestion happens a lot for women, over 40. Just in general, it seems to be something I just noticed in general that it happens, but also just by things we eat, right? If you're not eating well, that might be something you just ignore. Oh, that's just a little heartburn. Oh, that's just a little upset stomach. I ate, a bunch of pizza, that kind of thing. Upper back pain. Again, I'm always waking up with back pains, or, something new's always hurting because I'm over 40. So some of these signals, or unusual fatigue, right? Well, maybe you could say, well, I've been under so much stress and I've got this, that, and the other, and I've been burning the midnight oil and blah, 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 blah. All things that we might just tend to ignore, right? Good restful sleep, important. So right. Decreased stress levels. I mean, so right on, Barbara. Absolutely. Right. So the reason why we may get these heart attacks, the women may have blockages not only in the main arteries, but there may also be these blockages in the smaller blood vessels that supply other things that supply the blood to the heart. So it's not always like these big main arteries that get blocked, that where you get these big symptoms. Sometimes it's just the little stuff that's going on inside. And so you get these vague symptoms. So there's this blockage that you don't even know, this buildup going on inside. They call it small vessel heart disease. What's the other word here? Coronary microvascular disease. So these are, like, again, very easy to be missed. Women tend to have symptoms more often when they're resting or even when asleep than men. And emotional stress plays a role in triggering the heart attack symptoms in women, right? So Marva hit it right there on the head. Decrease that stress level. That could be the easiest thing that we could do for ourselves and the best thing we can do for ourselves. Coming up with some kind of self-care daily practice that we can do. Use our oils, getting when you don't have enough sleep, you're stressed, all of those things, right? Eating the right food. If you're eating foods that don't mesh with your body, that's going to cause some kind of physical stress on your body. All right. But we're, just in terms of the emotional stress, you hear that all the time, right? You see that in the movies or things, right? Somebody has some big, huge event that happens, something emotional happens, and they clutch their chest and keel over, right? Well, hopefully that will never be the case, but we can certainly do things to prevent it. And then because women don't always recognize their symptoms as heart attacks, they don't tend to go to the hospital when that's going on. Or if they do, it's kind of after the damage has been done. And also because they differ their symptoms than men, they're oftentimes, sent home. Women are oftentimes, you guys have probably experienced this with doctors. I know I have. They just kind of sometimes fluff us off or say, oh, it's just menopause, or, oh, whatever. They don't take women seriously sometimes when they come in to see them with symptoms as maybe they do men. And so there's a whole education that has to go on around this topic of, what it looks like for when a woman presents with a heart attack. You need to educate yourself, and we need to educate others around us. There's a movie that I found when I was doing my research for this called Ms. Diagnosed, like MS. I thought that was a cute name, Ms. Diagnosed. And I do this every single week. And then I realized right at the end that I've been talking with my little thing there. But that's okay. You can see me. I wanted you to see my whole full little new setup here. But anyways, this movie, Ms. Diagnosed, it specifically is a documentary done with these doctors, women doctors, specifically talking about this topic and this misdiagnosis of women in heart disease. And I actually wrote them, and I'm hoping maybe to figure out a way that I can get a hold of their movie and bring it to all of us to watch together. I thought that would be really cool. So, but just know that, you have to be your own advocate. If nothing else, if you feel, something is just off, right? You just know that that's not something maybe normal with you, then don't fluff it off for yourself, and don't let the doctor fluff it off, right? Definitely address it before it's too late, right? This is a preventable thing with self-care, health care, well care, and, with a little bit of, knowledge on your part and the doctor's part if something should happen. So that is all I have on the topic of heart attacks specifically, and women, and the signs to look for, and some of the precursors to the heart disease that maybe we want to take care of. So besides like sleep and stress, is there anything else that you ladies maybe do to help, your heart at all that you can think of? Any kind of self-care practices maybe that you do to decrease that stress level? What do you do? I wish I could tell you that I meditate every day. I don't, but I have been really getting into a practice of taking, time to, in my Win at Weight Loss program, we call them oily breathers, but throughout the day, just taking these 1-minute breaks with your oils. And I've been really trying to incorporate those, like being focused on doing that, and using, even if it's just 1 minute, to just kind of, focus on something that calms me today. I mean, no joke. I think I did take a picture. I went there, I started brushing my golden retriever. 45 minutes later, him and I were in heaven, right? Like, what a great stress reducer that was. Had like a pile like this. I mean, literally I could stuff a pillow with how much I took off, but I just know we both felt so much like less stress. So just so many easy things you can do. Yeah, walk, all those kind of things. So just, here in the Midlife Mojo group, we're always giving suggestions for creating a more peaceful life and things like that. And I just encourage you all to come up with your own little self-care practice, your own little stressless practice, to de-stress and to just know these signs. Maybe once I post them, even write them down and copy them and post them somewhere where they're just kind of maybe in your bathroom or somewhere where you just kind of keep it in the back of your mind a little bit. Pray, journal. Yes, Marva, some other great ones as well. So I am going to wrap up today's Midlife Mojo Monday, but just like every single Monday, I'm here at the 2 p.m.-ish hour, providing you guys with something to share. I hope you find it useful. I hope it's something that gives you a little motivation for the week to start you off. It gives you a little bit of something, food for thought to, to think about and just ponder and think about what you can do, maybe even set an intention around something that we talk about. So take these Mondays, and you can always go back and look at past ones. That you can just go to the search bar or go to media actually, and just hit on videos, and you kind of know what my little little picture looks like, Midlife Mojo Mondays, and click on the different topics. But just really, the purpose of these is really to help you all find your midlife mojo. And another way that I do that is to bring different resources to you. So I want you guys to look out for, in the upcoming, starting probably the end of this week, but over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be sending out a series of emails. I'm participating in 2 different giveaways, and one is called the Fit and Healthy giveaway, and one is called the Healthy Life giveaway. So they are 2 different giveaways, and both of them have about 30, 40 people in them, giving away freebies, things that can just, again, I'm very choosy in what I pick to do. And so if I say that it's a good one, it's a good one. So definitely make sure that when I send that out, that you register and you get all the freebies that you can, that can help you. And I did send an email out, I believe it was yesterday, from that was promoting Catherine Birchwood. She has a webinar about taking your skills and turning them into income. So look for that if you haven't seen that, if that's something that interests you. And that is it. Have a great week. Thank you, ladies, who joined me live. You know that it always makes me feel good to know that I'm out there talking to real people. And for those of you watching on the replay, I just appreciate you taking the time for yourself to join me and take in this information. So let me know what you think about my new little setup here. I'm working on it. I noticed when I do Zoom calls, it fit perfectly to my little desk and my screen. But when I do these Be Lives, it was so much yellow, so much wall. So I was looking for something to maybe make it look a little prettier. So let me know what you think. All right, that's it, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.